Brought to you by the Ramsey Network app. Download for content that keeps you motivated today.
I'm just curious, growing up in California, what was money like in your house growing up? Did your parents, were they wealthy? Was it like, hey, we're starting from ground zero here?
So my parents were, I would say, very middle class. So I grew up in a...
That's kind of popular to say right now.
Yeah, exactly. But you actually asked me that question. So you didn't ask me about inflation. Then I started talking about how I'm middle class.
I grew up in a middle class house.
Yeah, exactly. We grew up in a 2-bedroom, 1,100 square foot house in Burbank, California. I had 3 sisters, so I shared a room with all of my siblings until I was 11. We had 1 bathroom for 6 people. Fairly small house. My mom was a secretary at a TV company. My dad was a composer, which means that, he was playing piano in a restaurant because that's how it works in California. If you're not actually, a successful film composer, then just like everybody in California who has a script, you end up a barista. My dad is a really, really good jazz pianist. He was playing clubs from the time he was 14 years old. And so he was playing in a restaurant on Mondays and Tuesday nights. So a lot of my childhood, I remember sitting at the restaurant, watching him play piano at the restaurant and be excited when somebody dropped like a $10 bill in the tip jar. And, as we got older, we moved into a slightly bigger house. We ended up in a 2,400 square foot house with 4 bedrooms when I was 11. And that's where my parents were up until we all moved to Florida a few years ago. So we kind of went from, I'd say lower middle class to middle class to upper middle class. Certainly, we were never rich.
Your law degree's from Harvard.
Yes.
Did you get a free ride?
No, I paid that one.
Wow.
Yeah, I was already writing by that point. Right, so I'd already written some books. I'd already written some articles.
Okay, so you had the ability of cash flow.
Yeah, I had some cash flow.
And you were 20 years old when you were at Harvard Law.
Yeah, I started when I was 20. Yeah,
wow.
Because I started UCLA when I was 16. So when I went to Harvard, I mean. The truth is that's a good bet for a loan officer, right? You're giving a loan to somebody who's going to Harvard Law, chance of high income from Harvard Law, very good, right? I mean, educational loan business is a scam, but not if you're getting a degree from Harvard Law where everybody's going to go work for a big law firm for the first couple of years. I worked at a big law firm for about 8 months, decided I hated it and quit. And it was actually really funny.
So you knew that you wanted to lean into that kind of media side at a young age?
Yeah, I was a nationally syndicated columnist when I was 17. So when I went to college when I was 16, I thought that I was going to double major in music and genetic science because I was a virtuosic violinist at the time. And you can find videos on YouTube of me playing when I'm 11 years old at big banquets and stuff like that. I was a much cuter kid. And then I go to UCLA. I pick up the UCLA Daily Bruin. There's an article in there comparing Ariel Sharon, then the Prime Minister of Israel, to Adolf Eichmann, the Nazi. And I walked into the office and I said, "Can I write a counter to that?" And they said, "Sure." And that morphed into a regular column there. I then applied cold to Creator Syndicate, which was a syndicator for a bunch of different columnists left and right. And they didn't know my age. And they said, sure. They picked me up. My parents had to sign the contract because I wasn't of legal age
yet. You were
yet.
a minor at that point.
I was a minor.
Wow.
And so I started writing a syndicated column when I was 17. My first book came out when I was 20, when I was graduating from UCLA. It was called Brainwashed: How Universities Indoctrinate America's Youth. My second book came out while I was at Harvard Law, and it was titled Porn Generation: How Social Liberalism is Corrupting Our Future. That was 2005.
You've been stirring up trouble a long time.
Yeah, I've been in this for a while. I mean, I'm 40, but I've been in this for, 23 years. So I've been doing this for quite a while. So when I went to Harvard Law, that was a good bet, even though I knew the chances of me practicing law long term were pretty bad. And the truth is, that's also true of pretty much everybody at Harvard Law. 50% of people in my Harvard Law class aren't in law at all. Most of them went on to start businesses, become investors and that sort of thing.